welcome to another edition of Almost Martha. And today I'm so excited. I got a very special present in the mail. I had asked my cousin a long time ago for a recipe for squash balls. Yes, squash balls. It was something that my aunt used to make. And I think the last time I had them, I was like 15 years old or something like that. And they were so good. But she couldn't find the recipe. Well, guess what? She found it. And she found it in this cookbook. This is the Cotton Country Cookbook from Decatur, Alabama, from the Rotary Club in Decatur, Alabama. I love it. I love it. And in here is a recipe for squash balls. I'm so excited. And it's really, it looks really simple, which is great. You know, I remember at my aunt's house, we would just go outside and pick some squash. It was so good. But I went and bought this squash, and this is really beautiful summer squash. You really don't want those big gourds. You want these small little baby squash, kind of like this. And we're going to make my favorite today, squash balls. I'm so excited. There is a squash casserole too that my mom makes that is stupendous. We'll make that another day. But today we're going to do squash balls. So get ready for some Cotton Country cooking. Here we go. All right, I bought a lot of squash. We'll have it more than once, but I'm so thrilled to be making these squash balls. So the first thing we need to do is take our lovely squash, and we're going to slice it very thinly to about 2 cups. There's a lot of air in here, so I'm just going to do a little more than 2 cups. I'm slicing it thin so it'll cook really quickly. And we're going to put some water in this. I'm going to put about 1 little teaspoon of butter and a pinch of sugar, a little pinch of salt. And then we're going to cook this squash until it's nice and cooked down. And then we're going to have to drain it really, really well. So that's step 1 with the squash. I also took some white bread, some nice soft white bread, and I put it in my food processor and I processed it. So now I've got about 1 cup of soft breadcrumbs, and that we'll add to it a little bit later. But the first thing we're going to do is cook our squash. So remember, we're going to add about 1 teaspoon of butter. We're going to add some salt and 1 little tiny pinch of sugar. That was my mom's secret. Hi, Mom. For squash was to always add just a little pinch of sugar. So then I'll put this on the stove and cook it till it's nice and done. All right, the squash is on the stove. It's really not going to take that long for the squash to cook. I have about 1 cup of chopped onion. The original recipe says, 1 small onion, but that could be many things to many people. So this is a little over 1 cup, and I'm going to saute these onions till they're nice and soft. Now, this cookbook is really great, and this, it's a sign of the times, right? I think this was like 1988 or something that this was put together, and every woman's name in this cookbook is like this: Mrs. R.W. Orr, Mrs. William Smith Jr., Mrs. Frank Stone. It's like who are you? Who are you, Mrs. Frank Stone? Who are you? Are you Betty? Are you Joan? It's so funny. Very, very different times. But this recipe is in here from Mrs. John D. Sherrill. So thank you, Mrs. Sherrill. I wish I knew your name to say thank you. But this is really a walk down memory lane. So I appreciate it. And I'll put this in a special announcement on my recipe page at almostmartha.com, where you can go and get this recipe. But I do find it sort of like a time capsule in that regard. It's just Mrs. and her husband's name. Huh. Boy, okay. I guess we have come a long way. Maybe not far enough, but we've come a long way. Okay, Mrs. John D. Sherrill, I can't wait to taste your squash balls. All right, I have my onions sauteing over here. And I have my squash getting very soft. But we want to make sure that all of it is soft, and that includes that outside edge. All right, my squash is very tender. If I just touch it, it sort of breaks apart, so that means it's good to go. So now I'm just going to put it into my colander. I'm going to drain it and get all the water out. And I'm also going to let it cool because I'm kind of going to help drain it with my hands a little bit later. So just get as much of the water out at this point as you can, and then we'll kind of squeeze it a little bit more to get the rest of the moisture out once it's cooled. But for now, we'll just kind of let that drain cool a little bit. Okay, I'm just gonna take it now and I'm gonna mash the squash. I'll just, from the sides of the colander, try to drain a lot of this liquid out. The squash has to get mashed anyway, so this is a great way to do it. Kill two birds with one stone. We're just going to mash this squash and get that liquid out. Okay, y'all, we are at the ball stage. So I have I put my squash in here, and I can already see some more liquid that has formed at the bottom. So I'm just going to take a paper towel and just get some of this extra water out. It doesn't have to be bone dry, but we are going to add egg to it. So if it's too wet, it's going to take a lot of breadcrumbs to make this work. So got a good bit of water out of that. So I also have my sauteed onions. So I'm going to try not to add too much of the butter and just get the onions in here. Okay. Well, little butter never hurt anybody, right? Little butter. Little butter. Calls for 2 eggs. So 2 scrambled eggs. Or 2 lightly beaten eggs, let's put it that way. Pre-scramble. All right, put that to the side. We'll mix this up. Okay, yeah, those eggs really add a lot. I have 1 cup of those soft breadcrumbs, and I have some more if we need some. It says to add them as needed. So just gonna mix this up. Okay, that's pretty good. See? You see that? That's good. I think I will add some more breadcrumbs. You're going to have to roll them in breadcrumbs too, so. Okay, this is sort of taking shape. I'm going to salt, a couple of rounds of salt, maybe half a teaspoon, some pepper, stir that in. Okay, I think I'll need a few more breadcrumbs. You want it to be a little stiff because you're going to have to roll it into a ball. Okay, a little more, but I'm afraid to add too much. Okay. Okay, that feels about right. So I'm going to take my parchment paper. I'm going to these breadcrumbs out here. I'm going to take some of this mixture, roll it in these breadcrumbs. Okay. And now I'm going to put that to the side. You can make them about, golf ball size. That's what I remember anyway. About that size. And just keep it going, keep it going. Okay, I have all of my squash balls right here, and I'm gonna put these in the refrigerator because they need to be refrigerated for about 6 hours. So we'll get them nice and cold. I'm gonna reserve some breadcrumbs just in case I need to roll over breadcrumbs again. But we're gonna get these nice and cold, and then we're gonna deep fry them. Yeah, deep fry them. You heard me. Okay, in the refrigerator they go. Okay, here we go. So my squash balls have been refrigerated for the proper amount of time, and I think they're going to kind of look like arancini when they're done. I have my deep fryer here on the highest setting. I've had this deep fryer a long time. I'm just going to place these in here. I'm going to start frying these in batches. It's rather small. I can get about 4 in here easily. So there we go. If you don't have a little deep fryer, just use a deep saucepan on the stove and put about 2 inches of oil in there, because you can always flip it over halfway through cooking. But I've had this thing a long time. This thing has made many a batch of onion rings. And if you haven't seen that video, you should go find it because they're the best. They're the best. Okay, I'll come back. I'll come back when this batch is done and we'll give it a try. They look so good. They look so good. They look so good. And they totally do look like little arancinis. That's something else we're going to have to make one day. But this is it. This is it. This is the squash ball I remember. Fantastic. Okay, I gotta load some more in here. While that cools, because I'm gonna have to taste one. Okay. It's very exciting. Very exciting. Okay. I know it's gonna be super hot. Mark says I can eat lava, but not really. But kind of, sort of. So I can eat hot stuff. Okay. We're going to drain these. Now you could make these ahead of time and then put them in the oven to kind of do that double fry, which kind of gets rid of some of the oil. But I don't think this is going to be very greasy. Oh, wow. It smells just like I remember, really. Okay. I know it's going to be hot. It's going to be hot. I think I'm going to cry. That's it. That's it. That's totally it. Thank you, Mrs. John D. Sherrill. Thank you, Mrs. Don D. Sherrill of Decatur, Alabama, and the Rotary Club, because this is it. And this is so good. Oh, I'm going to cry. This is so good. This is just like I remember. So give it a try. As she says in her recipe, there's a little to it. Like, it's a little involved, but it is so worth it. That is so good. That is so good. I hope you try it. I hope you try it. One of my favorite Southern things, squash balls. Go to almost-martha.com to get the recipe and try it. Get some summer squash and let's go. This is just fantastic. I'm so happy, and I'm so happy to share it with you. Hi, Mom. Hi, Mom. So go to the website, get the recipe, and come back next week. I'm going to have a great, great recipe for you. We're going to do like a old-fashioned Southern fudge pie. It's going to be really good. So come back next week, and I'm going to go eat this squash, and I really am going to have a little cry. So see you next time, everybody. Thank you. Bye. Oh my gosh, it is so good.